Hi everyone, this is Jennifer Stay from Coloring Pages Bliss. In this video, I will be reviewing and demonstrating the Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. The first half of this video, we will take a close look at these pencils and put them through a series of tests to help answer our questions. The second half of this video, I will demonstrate how they perform by coloring this charming little bird that I recently drew. You can download and print this and many more coloring pages from my website. As always, there are links to this coloring page, links to all the products that you will see in this video, and links to my Facebook page, website, and other social media outlets in the description below. Before I get started, let me state that I always give my honest opinion in reviews. I make every effort to be accurate about all the details, but remember, please do your own research before making any purchases. Let's get started. So we're going to start out by talking about the Prismacolor pencils in general. They are, the Premier line is an artist quality line. They market to artists, but in the last year or so they have been branching out and marketing to colorists and hobbyists alike. They have sets that are available in all kinds of quantities and different configurations, so you can find them in 12s, 24s, 36, 48s, all the ways up to 150. They have stuff for portraitures, landscaping, so pretty much any kind of set you want to find, you're going to be able to find. And they are available open stock. And what is great about Prismacolor in the US, the open stock pencils are readily available. You can find them in hobby and craft stores and in artist stores and online. So these pencils are very easy to find. The price range has also been dropping over the last year or two. The 24 set I recently found for as low as $14 online, and the 150 set, their biggest set that includes all of their pencils, I found as low as $92 online recently. So they're actually becoming more and more affordable, which is really exciting for those of us who are big Prismacolor fans. Now the packaging itself is really nice with Prismacolor. Most of their sets come in the tin sets, like this 24 set. Let you take a peek here. I'm a big fan of the tin sets. It makes it so you can drop it into your art bags easy. And the back, of course, has a little bit of information, not a huge amount, and it has some color information, although the swatches themselves are not very accurate, so don't follow those. But at least they do have the color numbers of what you can find inside the tin. That's important. And then inside they have little removable trays. The plastic trays that they include in general, I'm not a fan of. They're quite flimsy, especially as the trays get bigger. I'll show you that in a second in the bigger set. But that's how they come. Let's take a peek at the bigger box, which of course I was really excited to receive. The bigger box is cardboard, and it has a nice magnetic seal right here in the front. Let me show you the back of the box. It has a little bit more information here, and it shows you how the box can be, the lid here can be flipped over. Let me bring that up so you can see the directions. It can be flipped over and used as an easel, which is nice. And then it has all the colors laid out in a color swatch pattern. Again, the colors themselves are not very accurate, but it is great to have them all listed out. And then inside our box, the top of the lid has some information about all of their different products in different languages, of course, and a little tips and techniques, but not a whole lot of information there. And then inside, let me flip this around like they recommend. Inside they have these trays that were all full of pencils. Now, I took them all out and put them into a case, which I'll show in a second, because these trays are just the most flimsy plastic, and I was so terrified that I would drop and spill my precious Prismacolors on the floor. And it's really, because the cores of the Prismacolors are a soft core, you do not want to drop these pencils and risk breaking your cores. See how flimsy they are, and they don't even have the weight of the pencil in them. So my box stands empty right now in my art studio on a shelf. So let me show you where I keep my pencils right now. I have a nice case by Global Art, and I will put a link in this review where you can go and see how I organize my pencils and learn more about that. But these are the beautiful Prismacolor 150 set. And I just kind of keep them in color families inside this case. I ended up buying 2 large cases so I could spread them out and organize them better. Plus I figured someday I may want to add, if they come out with more colors, I might want to add more. So you get a ton of colors. And then you get into the grays, which when you upgrade to the 150 set, they come with a huge selection of beautiful grays, which is really fun. They have the cools and the warms and the French grays, which is really fun. And then also in this set, they have some really beautiful metallics, which I'll show you here when we swatch them out in just a minute. So that is the overall sets that you get with your Prismacolor 150 set. Okay, let's take a closer look at this 24 set. The pencils themselves are round, which is very nice and comfortable in the hand, and they are open-ended. Let me bring, so you can see the color of the core on both ends here and of course at the tip. And the wood is cedar wood. On the pencil, the wording is silver and it is easily read. It says Prismacolor Premier. This one says Parma Violet, and then in French here, and then it says PC, which is Prismacolor 1008. So everything has both a name and a number. So that makes it really easy to keep track of your colors and to reorder if you want to order a replacement for a pencil that you're using a lot. Now, also, the core itself is a 3.8 millimeter core, and Prismacolor Premier pencil cores are a soft core wax. So it is very creamy to use, and it is quite a delicate core, so you need to treat your pencils with care, don't drop them, and be careful as you sharpen them, which we will talk about later when we do the sharpening test. Now, the light fast info for these pencils is available, but it's not available on the packaging or on the pencil. You actually have to go to their website, and on the frequently asked questions section is where you can find a PDF and download this really pretty chart, and it will list off all of the ASTM D6901-06 light fast information. And that ASTM number is important if you are going to be comparing brand to brand for light fast information for the artists that want to know. And then every single color is given a rating from excellent to poor, so you can go through and see, like lilac has a poor rating versus say powder blue, which has an excellent rating. So that's how you would determine your light fast information for the Prismacolor Premier pencils. Now the pencil exterior, as far as the color matching what the color of the core is actually quite excellent. But once in a while they don't get it quite right, and so as a general rule of thumb, it is important to always do swatches. So for this 24 set, I have made up this really pretty Prismacolor Premier 24 chart, and like I said before, the back of the packaging does have a chart, but it's really inaccurate. So you'll want to make yourself your own color swatch chart, and then you'll be able to easily select colors as you're coloring and doing your art. Now for the 150 set, I also made a chart, and it goes off onto, I have it on one page where the the swatches are small, but you can see all the beautiful colors in one large page. And then I also have a 2-page version, so you can see them a little bit larger as you're comparing the different colors and the different variations from family color to family color. Look at all those beautiful grays. So much fun. Now you can also see these beautiful neons that they come with as well, which is really fun and unique with the Prismacolors. So in general, they have a huge variety of colors, lots of deep pigmented colors. Look at like this crimson lake and these really deep, beautiful blues you can get. And as I was making the swatches, it was really easy to get these beautiful colors and the really neat variation from light to dark. It was really simple to do it. I didn't have to work hard to lay it down, and that's due to the wonderful soft core and beautiful wax and the deep pigmentation of the Prismacolor Premier pencils, which I absolutely love. So the next step is to move on to testing our beautiful Prismacolor pencils. The way we're going to do that is to use this at a glance worksheet, which I have created. The first thing we do is we're going to select some color samples, and I use this pocket color wheel that I have to select 6 colors from the 150 set, the closest to this yellow, closest to this green, and I will lay these out here, including a brown and a black, and then we'll also test out their metallics to see how metallic-y they are, and then we'll take them through the tests, and I'll explain how these tests work so that we can kind of see how they perform and give you an idea of what you can expect if you decide to purchase these colored pencils. And then after we're done with the tests, we can move on and color that really cute bird that I showed you earlier. So let me set up for the tests. Okay, so I've taken my color wheel and the color swatches from the 150 Prismacolor Premier set, and I have found yellow, green, blue, violet, red, and orange to use in the tests. I've also found a brown and a black, and I pulled out the metallics to do a little color swatch for you, so you can see that the metallics they give you are actually a nice true metallic. They catch the light when you burnish them in. I did a nice burnished edge right here, and then out towards the edge of the circle I did a more medium pressure so you could see what you get when you don't burnish it in. So the metallics are really fun to play with and give a fun effect to your coloring. So these are the colors we will use in the tests as we move through the worksheet here. So the first test we're going to do is the core usage and sharpening test. And for that one, we're going to use the brown PC945, which is sienna brown. And the way we conduct this test is I'm going to start out by sharpening this pencil. It's already pretty sharp, but I'm going to bring it to a really good sharp point and show you how good and sharp we can get this Prismacolor pencil. And then we're going to go over this. It's about a 2 by 2 inch square. We're going to go over it 3 times, a light pressure, a medium pressure, and then we're going to go ahead and burnish it in really good for the 3rd time. And each time I'm going to show you about how much pencil core is used to cover that entire area using that amount of pressure. And then at the end we can see how much it took to complete that entire 2 inch by 2 inch square with just one sharpening. See if we can complete it, and then you can get an idea of how fast you'll use up this particular brand of pencil. And then we'll sharpen it again, and then I can tell you how well the Prismacolor Premier pencils sharpen, and we can talk a little bit about how the pencils feel and how well they go down. Now I'm using a Coom Magnesium sharpener, which is a really good steel sharpener, and as always, remember to turn your sharpener, not your pencil, and that will protect your lead. So I'm just going to gently bring this to a really good point here. This is a brand new sharpener so that it's a good fair demonstration of sharpening here. And there you can see the really strong, good point we can get on the Prismacolor Premier pencils. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit fast forward, and you can watch. At first, like I said, it will be the light pressure over the entire square, then medium pressure over the entire square, and then finally we'll burnish it in over the entire square, and then we'll talk about it. So this test also is great because it's going to show you how much pigment you can get down from one pencil with just light pressure. Some pencils that are low pigmented, when you use a light pressure, you don't get very much color when you use just a light pressure. So as you can see with the Prismacolor Premier, when you do light pressure, you can get a nice shade without too much effort. Now moving on to the medium pressure. Still a lot of the core left. And finally the burnishing, which is the hardest pressure. And of course, burnishing is when you press enough that you are pushing the wax and the pigment into the tooth or the texture of the paper so that none of the white shows anymore. Okay, there we go. That's the third layer, and we have it burnished in now. It's looking really good. And we come up and we can see we had to use all of it. In real life, I probably would have sharpened it sooner, but you can see I had to use everything I had there of that tip to get that last burnished layer down. So it used up a lot, and that's that soft core of the Premier Prismacolor pencil. It does take a lot when it comes to burnishing to lay it down. So let's go ahead and sharpen again and see how it does on this sharpening. There. And we're able to bring it right back to a beautiful point again. Very nice. So sharpening went really easy, especially with that good blade of the comb. It went really good, and we got some nice long curls. And so I have never had any problem with sharpening the Prismacolor Premier pencils, and I really attribute that to using a good sharpener and using good technique and taking really good care of my pencils. I don't drop them, and I've always had them in a well-protected case, and I think that's why I've never had any trouble with my Prismacolor Premier pencils. Okay. The next test we're going to perform is an erasing test, and we want to see how well the Prismacolor Premier pencils erase. So I'm going to go ahead and use my red. This is Permanent Red PC122, and I'm going to do a gradient here. Okay, so I just laid down a gradient of the red pencil. I'm going to use this Factus Black 18 eraser to test how well it erases. This is just one of my favorite color pencil erasers. There's a lot on the market, so you can, of course, test your own eraser, but let's see how this one performs. You can see you can lift out some of it. So if you wanted to create a highlight or remove a mistake, you could probably get some of it removed, but the Prismacolor Premier pencil is not specifically designed to be totally erased. They have their own line of pencils for erasing if you are looking for a pencil that can be erased. I think it's called the Color Erase, so you can look for that. All right, now we're going to test out the black value. Now, one of my pet peeves with color pencils is that some pencils in some sets, when they come, they don't have like a true black. When you go to do a black coloring and you want a really good deep black, you grab their black and you end up with more of a gray or a deep charcoal gray. So when I get a new set, one of my tests is to see if when I do a burnishing out with their black, do I actually get a really good deep black. So we're going to go ahead and burnish out this circle, and then I'm going to use my pocket color wheel again, and it has a value tester there, and we'll hold it up to it and see if it looks like it's a good true black on that value scale. Okay. That is a beautiful black dot there we got. So let's bring this over here like this. And as you can see, it's just hitting right there with the darkest, what it calls 100% black value 1. So I'm really happy with the black that it comes with. I've always been able to create a really deep black when I needed it. And speaking of black, I'd like to now test and see if we use our Premier pencils on a deep colored paper, like a black paper or a different colored background, will the Prismacolor Premier pencils show up? So I'm going to use my blue, yellow, and red and color a little swatch out here and see what happens. Oops, I grabbed violet. So first blue, and this is Cerulean Blue PC103. And next yellow, and this is Canary Yellow PC916. Good. And finally our Permanent Red PC122. There you go. I'll hold this up into the light so you can see. It's a little harder for you to see on the camera. In person, I can definitely see, especially out of the studio lights, I can see this is blue, yellow, and red. So you can definitely use this on colored paper. You'll lose a lot of the variations of color, but it's definitely showing up better than I thought it would actually. So now we're going to move down here to a layering test, and here I want to basically see if they layer up well as you use color pencils. One of the beauty of them is that you can lay down light layers upon light layers upon light layers, and we want to make sure that they will do that well. So we're going to test that in this nice long rectangle here using my blue, yellow, and brown. So we've got blue, yellow, and finally brown. So I'm going to color the entire square first light pressure with my Cerulean Blue. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to move on to the second layer, which is going to be the yellow. And I'm only going to do about 2/3 of this in yellow. And what we're hoping to find is that we'll still see the blue coming up and through, and technically we should see it coming into sort of a green place, adding in this yellow. Very nice. And then the final last third here, I'm going to do a layer of our Sienna Brown, which is PC945. And again, we want to see if we can still see this yellow and blue layer coming up from underneath. Okay, let me bring that up closer so you can see how nicely we've got I can still see blue and yellow underneath that brown. So you can definitely do a lot of beautiful layering with these pencils, which is why these are really popular with artists. You can get a lot of depth and beauty with the wonderful pigmentation and layerability. Okay, now we've got 4 different blending tests we're going to perform here to see how well they work for you depending on the different kinds of ways you blend. Of course, there's lots of different ways of blending, but I've chosen 4 that we're going to test so you can get an idea. The first one we're going to do is, I call it Jennifer's Rule of Blending Thirds. There's a video on my YouTube channel that you can check out to learn more about it. For this, we're going to use yellow, orange, and red. And the first step in this, I'm going to move this worksheet to the side to give me a better arm angle. For this blending, it's all using just these 3 pencils. There's no other blending tool. So it'll give you a good idea of sort of a layering blending technique and see how it works. First step is to fill the whole square. And 2/3 of your medium tone. And then the last third is your darkest tone. And all of this is being done in a light to medium pressure. Back to your medium tone over the 2/3. And finally, your lightest tone over the whole thing for your final time. Still using light to medium pressure. You can burnish this part in if you want to, if you'd like to get rid of all these little white speckles that are left. Just depends on the look that you want. So you can see with the Prismacolor Premier pencils, you can get a really beautiful blend without using any extra tools, just using the pencils alone. And that's again one of the beautiful advantages of these gorgeous pencils. Okay, now we're going to do the next test, which is to blend 2 colors together. Sorry about the creaky chair. We're going to blend 2 pencils together using a white pencil overlay to bring the 2 colors together in the middle. And for this, we're using red and blue. So in the middle, we should get a violet color. Okay, now we're going to use the white pencil as our blending tool, and I'm just going to blend probably the middle 2/3 and leave the outside edge so you can remember what it looked like before we blended with the white. So basically I'm using the white pencil to burnish in the colors, and it creates this gorgeous, creamy, almost pastel look. This is one of my favorite techniques for blending. Creates a very dreamy look. The Prismacolor pencils lend themselves to this kind of blending really well. Let me bring that up so you can see how beautiful that turned out. Okay, now over here we're going to use odorless mineral spirits, and we're going to blend a blue and a yellow together, and of course see if we can get a green in the middle. Medium pressure. Already you can see that we're getting a really pretty green just simply by layering. And the odorless mineral spirits, what I'm looking for is to see what kind of pigment is going to be left behind when the odorless mineral spirits removes the carrier, which in this case is wax. And this is, for me, a really good test to see how bold the colors are of the pigment. I'm just using a blending stub and odorless mineral spirits in a container, dipping in and with medium pressure blending out the color pencil that's been laid down, and creating a beautiful blended effect with these Prismacolor Premier pencils. You can see how strong that blue pigment is. It's being carried out quite a ways into that yellow. Getting a really beautiful green. Very pretty, very deep colors, and we got a really pretty green here in the middle. Our last test is the final blending test, and we're going to use the colorless blender pencil. This is the Prismacolor Premier colorless blender pencil. The number on it is PC1077, and we're going to blend together yellow and red and see if we can get an orange. Again, 2/3 of this box is going to be covered in yellow and then 2/3 in red. And we're using medium pressure. Okay, now I'm going to basically burnish in, just like I did here with the white pencil, only this time with the colorless blender. Using medium to heavy pressure and moving either in strokes or in small circles, kind of depending on the area and how much burnishing in it needs to get rid of the white and push that pigment into the tooth. Okay, now that we've completed all the tests, let's finish answering our final questions. Okay, I just finished making my final notes now that I've completed all the tests on the worksheet about our Prismacolor Premier pencils. Overall, I feel like the pencils are just fantastic. When you use heavy pressure, of course, we learned from this test that the core gets used up really fast, but using light to medium pressure, the color goes on really quickly and you can cover large areas fast because there's a high pigmentation. The feel of the core is really creamy, it's easy to apply, and so it's really nice if you have aching hands because you can put it on without too much trouble and you don't get as much hand fatigue. It's easy to sharpen, especially if you're using the correct sharpener. I've never had any issues with it, and so I give it a thumbs up with sharpening. I can get them to a really good point, which is great for detail work. It's excellent with layering and blending. Every technique I've ever tried with blending and layering with the Prismacolors have always worked excellent, and I've never had any issues, especially if you're using correct paper with a good tooth. Erasing, it doesn't work very fantastic, but that's okay for me because I don't look to my Prismacolor Premiers for erasing. If that's what you want, then you've come probably to the wrong place as far as pencils go. The unique features of the Prismacolor sets, especially the 150 set, are the beautiful metallics that you actually get a good sheen, and the really fantastic array of colors, including those fantastic grays. And of course, the Prismacolor Premiers, they just make art fun. When I purchased them, they automatically made me feel like an artist. I had this huge selection of colors. I felt like for once I could finally begin to blend and layer and do things that I couldn't do with other sets that I had previously had. And so that makes me a huge fan of Prismacolor Premier. Now we're going to go ahead and move over to some fun coloring, and I'm going to show you what these beautiful pencils can do by coloring this charming little bird, which I recently drew. Now this is a brand new coloring page, which is now available for my Premier members on my website. So please come and download it, and let's see what these beautiful pencils can do. So I'm going to start out with our little bird with the branches. Going to lay down a light color first and build up some depth, since these Prismacolor Premiers are so fantastic with layering and blending. We can have some fun with building up the layers, and we can lay down color pretty fast, so we can have some fun here. This color that I'm using right now is Goldenrod PC1034. Then I've got the darker Sienna Brown PC945, which I'm going to help use with the shading here. And build up a little shadow on either side of the trunk to give it some depth and make it feel like it's sort of curving. Under the bird, we're going to add extra Sienna Brown to reinforce the shadow of the bird. I'm also going to introduce some Apple Green 912, just little highlights of it into the branch. Give it a more natural look. And come back again with my goldenrod to help blend in the previous two colors. Here I'm using a light to medium pressure. Previously everything was being done at a light pressure. This is going to bring everything together in these branches. Now we're going to move on to the leaves. I'm going to use some of the same colors that I used in the branches so that they have the same sort of feel and fit together nicely. Just using light pressure on this. I'd like to introduce a darker green, so we're going to bring in dark green PC908. Using medium pressure here. We want to introduce the goldenrod color into the leaves now to tie them into the branches. And then coming back to our apple green, I want to darken up this band here and blend over this whole part. Bring it all together. Okay, let's move on to our little bird, who I think we're going to make a nice yellow color. So we're going to bring up our canary yellow. Oh, that's fitting. And that's PC916. And we're going to go over the whole bird, except for its main wing here, which we'll try to do something a little more with an accent on. This is just really light pressure laying down our first layer. I love how fast you can lay down color with these pencils. I'm going to avoid these little circles. Okay, and then we have this Spanish orange, which is a really deeper yellow that we're going to play with here on the bird and its feathers. So I'm doing a heavier pressure along its back and then blending it out to a lighter pressure towards the center of the bird. I want the tips of the wings to really be a nice, bolder color. think we're going to go deeper than this Spanish orange. Give it some nice dimension here. And go a little darker under the wing where a shadow would be. A little darker here. A little darker here. Start building up those shadows with each layer. Oops. I'm going to come up here and under here, do the same thing. Take advantage of the power of layering with these pencils. Nice darker shadow here and then lighter as it comes out. Now we're getting some better dimension. Okay, now we're bringing in the goldenrod from the branch and a little bit more shadowing. So everywhere there's a shadow now. Using mostly light pressure here. Lots of little layers. Okay, and I'm going to go to my poppy red, which is kind of an orangish red. This is PC922, and we're going to play around with red as our accent color in this cute bird. A light layer of red. Deepen it up with a tiny touch of our sienna brown. Goldenrod, and back to the poppy red. Just give it some depth. It won't feel so flat. Okay, and repeat. Red, sienna brown, goldenrod, goldenrod needs to be sharpened for these tiny little details. Okay, then I'm using my red and sienna brown and goldenrod to make these feathers a little more spectacular. But I'm only using the sienna brown on the edges to help give the feathers some shape, and keeping the yellows for the center and the bright poppy red, and that will make it feel like it's got highlights. I'm going to use the lightest color, the canary yellow, to do some blending here. I've laid a piece of wax paper down to keep my hand from rubbing on the leaves and the branches that I've already colored. Okay, that looks really pretty. And then I'm going to come down here and just add a few hints of that red into these feathers as well. Okay, then using my goldenrod and my Spanish orange and my canary yellow, I'm just building up the beak. And the eye area. Maybe a touch of red around the eye, but not much. I'm going to leave this area, the top of the head and the arch of the wing is going to stay a light yellow with the specks of red. I think that looks happy. Okay. Maybe just a little bit more bright yellow in here. In a few spots. Good. Okay, now we just have the background, which I think will bring in a nice light blue. And this, let's see, we've got light cerulean blue and cerulean blue here. These should work fun together. And move the wax paper out of the way. And I think what we'll do is just lay down the darker blue in the shadows. And using a light pressure here. And just create a blue sky. Okay, now I'm just doing some final blending out to make sure the sky looks smooth. Well, I think our little bird turned out really good. I'm really pleased that I can do an entire coloring page in one sitting and come out with my hand only slightly aching. That's very impressive. I want to say thank you to Prismacolor for making a product that I can use like that and not come away just in total pain. So thank you very much, Prismacolor. And like I said before, this coloring page is available on my website as a downloadable PDF, so please come to my website and take advantage of that. Also, this completed worksheet and all my other product review worksheets are posted on my website for you to compare. If you found this video helpful, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you won't miss all the future reviews that are coming. I also do live weekly events on my Facebook page. I would love to have you join the fun in our community. If there is a product you would like me to review, please comment below and I will see what I can do. Thanks again for watching and have a blissful and colorful day. Bye-bye.